Pick your side. You know what I mean? England or Jamaica? Pick a side. England or Jamaica?
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. So we're going to play a recording. Mark Golden, the leader of the opposition, hear what he has to say regarding that, if he's willing to give up the passport or not. So let's hear what Mark Golden has to say. And there are people in Parliament with dual citizenship, but the Prime Minister was saying if you want to become Prime Minister, you should not have dual citizenship. But is it in the Constitution? Let's hear what Mark Golden has to say. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Kind of firestorm that has arisen in the last 2 days related to the constitutional reform process. It's not surprising to me that our political competitors are seeking to generate distractions around these issues, and I think that's what this is. So yes, I'm a born Jamaican. I was born at University Hospital, 1965. I grew up in Jamaica. I went to school here, Mona Prep, Campion College. I studied abroad, and I came back right after, went to Norman Manley Law School, and did 2 years there. Got a Commonwealth Scholarship, did a master's degree in law in the UK, came back right after, and I've never worked anywhere other than Jamaica. So my entire working life and my childhood were here. So yeah, I'm a born Jamaican. I do have British citizenship as well, by descent. My father came to Jamaica in 1953 from the UK, and he spent the rest of his career and died here. He's buried on Slipe Road. So, you know, he was a person who gave a lot to this country. Started the Mona Rehab Center. He was in charge of the medical response to the polio epidemic in the Kendal train crash. He was sent there to deal with the aftermath of that terrible incident, and established a National Road Safety Council, Hope Valley Experimental School, all of these things. My mother was a career public servant. She was one of the first 3 ladies, I believe, to join the civil service in Jamaica in an administrative position. And later on, after she got married and had children, she moved to the rehab center and spent the rest of her career there. So I'm very committed to Jamaica fully. You know, my entire life is about Jamaica, and so this whole thing is a bit peculiar. Truth is, the Constitution of the country from 1962 to now allows, in fact requires, Commonwealth citizenship to be eligible to be in our Parliament. The UK and Jamaica are both part of the Commonwealth. So my presence in the Parliament is in accordance with the Constitution, is lawful, and that's why I've never really thought of this as a big issue.
I think that's where the confusion rests, only because we have heard people say, oh, but the PNP has called for other people to denounce their citizenship. But you're saying the UK is a Commonwealth, but not the US.
Correct. So the Commonwealth are nations who were largely former colonies of the UK, but the US is not included in that. They have never been a member of the Commonwealth. So there was an instance in 2007 when a number of candidates were in fact not eligible to be in Parliament because they had citizenship from countries that were not in the Commonwealth. And those matters were taken to court, and the court, they had by-elections that were held, okay. Correct? And some of them, I think they renounced their citizenship, happened. But there are a number of people in Parliament who are Commonwealth citizens. I'm not the only one. So, you know, I don't see why this is a big issue, but it's obviously being used as a way of trying to attack me personally.
So you don't think there's any validation at all to the issue? Because you mentioned the issue of the CCJ and constitutional reform, which is another area where there's deadlock that I want to ask you about. But one of your statements is that the CCJ, being Jamaica's final appellate court, it can be a case where we have 1 foot, this is your direct quote, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of King Charles's yard. Right. Is there a parallel between that statement and what folks are saying now about your dual citizenship? And also, is it therefore fair for you to categorize it as a mere distraction?
1 foot in and 1 foot out refers to the idea of leaving the monarchy but not leaving it. In other words, Jamaica becoming a republic but still having as one of our institutions of government at the highest level the Privy Council, which is the King's Court. When the King, when you take a case to the Privy Council and the order is made by the court there, it's made in the King's name. And I'm saying, and the PNP has been saying for decades, let's fully decolonize, stand up on our own 2 feet as a proud nation, and move forward together. So in terms of the dual citizenship rule, the Constitution allows, as I've said, Commonwealth citizens to be in the Parliament, and I've always regarded it as important to comply with the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica. So we're going through a process of reform now. If this matter is debated, and the Jamaican people feel strongly that the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, as 2 individuals, should not have dual citizenship, I would take the necessary steps to relinquish that status, you know. But as it stands now...
But if folks ask you why wait until that time, because the notion that the PM raised yesterday is a matter of the ultimate executive leader not being but you know, perception being oftentimes the reality and the lens through which people view things, the perception of split loyalties, this perception of having 2 masters. PM said, you know, we are a parachute if anything goes wrong. You know, it needs to be clear that you have no other loyalty.
But first of all, the PM is not really in a position to say that, because the PM has sworn allegiance to the King. In 2021, he joined the King's Privy Council voluntarily and would have had to swear an oath or affirm an oath of loyalty to the King. So he's a flip-flopper on this issue. In my case, my life is one of service to the people of Jamaica. My life is one of service. The question of their loyalty to the country has never been questioned. So from my standpoint, I think it shouldn't be a situation where the Prime Minister dictates what the Constitution should say. And he can't do that. You know, it's a question of dialogue, consultation, and let us discuss the issue. And if whatever comes out of that process, I will abide by. As far as I'm concerned, it's part of who I am. My father's son is who I am. You know, Barack Obama was the son of a Kenyan. Go through any procedure to renounce his Kenyanship. You know, he became the president of the United States. Similarly, I'm born here, I grew here. Yes, I have this by virtue of who my father was. But why should I be required when the law doesn't and the Constitution doesn't require it to change my status? Nobody else has ever been asked to do that.
Do you have a Jamaican passport, Margolia? When you travel to the UK, do you use it, or do you go and get a visa like the rest of us?
I travel on a Jamaican passport whenever I travel nowadays. Since I came into government in 2012, you know, I decided I was not going to use the UK passport. And I've maintained that. I have a diplomatic passport as a minister, and then as a leader of the opposition, I got one again. I have a UK visa in my Jamaican diplomatic passport. I was in the UK 2 years ago for a tour. I went up on that visa. I had to apply for it. I had to go to the office here and go through all the biometrics like everybody else and what have you. So I have a US visa in my Jamaican passport. I have a 10-year visa as well, and in my diplomatic passport. So I travel on my Jamaican. And in fact, I'm not intending to renew my UK passport. It expires this year, and I don't use it. I haven't been using it for a long time. And you know, I have no need plan to give it up. So that's where I stand on that issue.